Welcome to the second Employer Development Workshop webinar on building award-winning veteran hiring and retention programs. My name is Jeffrey Horne. I'm the CEO of the Institute for Veterans Education and Training and also a recently retired Army Brigadier General with experience as the Army's Director of Human Resources, Plans, and Policy. We are honored that you would join us today, and the National Chamber of Commerce and I deeply appreciate you taking the time to invest in options to improve your workforce, improve your productivity, and yes, even improve your profit and loss statement by hiring and retaining veterans, National Guard members, and reservists. Today, we continue your growth as a top subject matter expert on veteran hiring in your organization with an in-depth review of the first steps of a four-phase recruiting roadmap model that will make your organization an award-winning veteran company. I've spent the last 8 years bringing veterans and industry together to find strengths and mutual benefits of working with each other. In that process, we've helped thousands of military members transition from hospitals, combat, and routine military assignments into some of the most sought-after careers in the nation. As always, though, you will find that success requires preparation, forethought, strength, and perseverance. With these thoughts in mind, let's get started. In our previous webinar, Effective Hiring Strategies, we provided an overview of our detailed four-phase model that you see here. During that one-hour webinar, we conducted an informative discussion of the process changes to government guidelines for veteran hiring, methods for adapting your programs, and provided a step-by-step guide to building your programs to look at the whole person, the whole veteran, and how to use assessment tools to gauge corporate fit, career fit, and personal capacity. We also provided pragmatic, implementable, quick wins to get your program off the ground quickly. We believe it will be helpful for you to review that webinar to gain additional insights on preparing your company for a veteran recruiting program. Today, we're going to expand upon that training by conducting a deep dive approach on the first phase of the model, preparing your company for veteran recruiting. We'll discuss skills, characteristics, performance attributes, and the development of tools to translate and enjoin military skills with corporate hiring manager needs. On the left side of this chart, we give you an idea of the steps as well as some of the discussion topics in getting your company and leaders ready to launch the program. We'll help you understand a little more about the challenges both you and the veterans themselves face in the recruiting process, the demand signal for veterans as employees, and government support, financial opportunities, support structures that will improve your cost-benefit and return on investment ratios to make this a proper leveraged investment for the company. Understanding supply and demand issues surrounding military hires and also translation tools that are available to aid you along the way. All of these should make your job a heck of a lot easier and a lot more fun. There are a wide variety of surveys, studies, and practical experiences that point to the value of bringing veterans into the workplace. Most of us know them from various things that we've talked about and seen in the past. However, these are definitive characteristics that were found through a national survey conducted by the Prudential Foundation in 2012. While it was conducted a year ago, the skills and capabilities are timeless. They range from leadership, strong character, super work values, to resiliency, loyalty, and then, of course, the public relations value of a recognized veteran hiring program. We'll spend a little more time on these traits in just a minute, but first we want to acknowledge up front that there's also some barriers, there's some challenges in this process. In short, military and business cultures think they're completely different. While accurate to a degree, there are also tremendous similarities, much more than anyone gives credit to. In the end, they both deal with uncertainty, pressure, high-end technology, personal performance, quality execution, and both rely heavily upon standard processes. In the end, both are seeking great leaders that consistently outperform the competition. Both find that leadership trumps all other requirements, and uniquely, the U.S. military is consistently upheld as one of the top leadership training programs in the world. However, feedback indicates that the lack of familiarity between military and business communities drives initial perceptions. This is sometimes fueled by stereotypes that may go back to what we learned from our parents and our families, and may still permeate our thinking. Few even realize it. In fact, many senior military members don't even realize the massive cultural shift towards technology, inclusiveness, delegation, individual accountability, and many other attributes that has taken place in the military during the War on Terror the last 10 to 14 years. As many experienced in this area say, this is not your father's army, it's a whole new world. The U.S. military has had the top spot as the most respected occupation in the U.S. for over 10 years running. We'll talk about what skills and attributes drive this feeling in a few minutes. As far as numbers goes, there are 20 million veterans in the U.S. today, with 2.6 million having served in combat deployments over the last 10 years. Typically, today's transitioning active duty veteran is under age 30, a demographic group that has a higher than average unemployment rate when compared to other national age groups across the nation. Thankfully, veterans are doing better in that category, and in some cases, outperform unemployment rates in various categories, with the exception of the under age 30 work group. Younger veterans typically have less formal advanced education. However, they are also more likely to be in school, either full-time or part-time, suggesting they realize the need for increased education and degrees to truly be competitive. Recently, they and the rest of their mentors are seeing a great need for certifications and stackable credentials rather than 2- and 4-year degrees. This is certainly true earlier in their careers. Also, over 50% are married and have experienced much more of life's challenges than their peer age groups. They've held car loans, mortgages, have experienced hardship, and performed under pressure much more often than other age groups. Most have a much less obvious problem. They don't have the resumes that hiring managers understand. A 25-year-old Iraq veteran may have significant leadership and technical experience, but he may not have the 2- or 4-year college degree, 2 or more years of non-military work experience, or references from past employers. It's not immediately clear how his military experience prepares him to work in, say, a bank branch. Of special note is the unsaid concern about post-traumatic stress. Recently, experts have quit calling it a disorder or PTSD. This is because it's recoverable. Many people don't understand that. It is simply a challenge that's recoverable and mitigated by education and by treatment. In our previous webinar, discussed quite a few details on how to proactively tackle this problem. If you understand more about how to deal with these perceptions, please take a look at that training. The bottom line is that all of these experiences may actually make veterans more grounded, more reliable, and more focused, but also less recognized by the traditional automated job search and screening engines. So, how do we get by these concerns and get folks into your talent pipeline? You may want to start with providing some additional facts and leader education. So please consider the following conversation points. Nationally, the military has enjoyed the #1 spot in trustworthiness and respect out of all professions in the United States. The military has a rigorous selection process to enter our all-volunteer force. Less than 20% of Americans can even qualify to be a military member due to these rigorous requirements. Recruits and officers must accept a high-risk profession. They accept very high-end training, very technical in most endeavors. They must pass aptitude tests, be physically fit, drug-free, and willing to experience frequent moves that benefit the organization, not the individual. They are true selfless servants. Many of your employees will understand some level of value, but they do not necessarily understand exactly what you're doing. They may not understand why the company is starting or changing their recruiting program. What type of positions or career paths you may be looking at. They may not know what your perceived value to the bottom line fiscal return is of the company and how that may affect their ability to proceed. You should also recognize that some may feel threatened. They may be fearful of the impact on their jobs and career progression. They may have their own stereotypes, as we mentioned a moment ago, about what a military person will be like in the workplace. Some are valid, some aren't. Few will understand the military, their culture, their past career capabilities, and even fewer will understand the effects of war, trauma, and disabilities. Finally, they do not understand the impact of chronic veteran unemployment. It does truly hurt everyone. No one likes to see our nation's youth and defenders of our freedom lead the nation in homelessness. It costs Americans over $2 million per person for every wage earner to go unemployed permanently after age 35. No one wants to pay that bill, especially for those that stepped forward when others could not. Most importantly, you'll find your employees really want to learn more. They really want to feel involved, and they want to be a part of the process. They just need to understand. So part of this is change management, and part of it is culture change, and all of it has to be dealt with. But it's all part of paying a perceived debt to those that defended our freedom, and that's a great thing. But you also want to make sure that everyone realizes this is about better returns for the company and for their own prosperity. Now we begin to encapsulate how to make your case for a new or expanded veteran hiring program and create open discussion on how to make it all work financially. On the left, we have specific character traits and attributes that are prominent in those with military backgrounds. These, combined with capabilities you saw in the previous picture and the talking points that I gave you more than enough to convince your leaders and middle managers that this group of prospective hires are uniquely qualified to generate the kind of growth and return on investment that they seek. Let's discuss several of these. Diversity and strong interpersonal skills. Service members have learned to work side by side with individuals regardless of race, gender, religion, ethnic and cultural backgrounds, economic status, and geographic origins, as well as mental, physical, and attitudinal capabilities. Many service members have also been deployed or stationed in numerous foreign countries on various continents that give them a much greater appreciation for the diverse nature of our globalized economy and how to interact with others. Second, they have a great ability to work effectively in a fast-paced, very unprogrammed environment. Service members have developed the capability and time management skills needed to know how to accomplish tasks correctly and on time in spite of limited resources and immense pressure. Third, they have an intense respect for safety, accountability, and procedures, personal accountability. Individually, they're focused on personal health and have been held accountable for their being drug-free for their entire career. They willingly follow procedures and know how policies and procedures enable an organization to be successful and generate quality. They easily understand their place within an organizational framework and how to work with leaders and managers. Service members respect safety and quality protocols, both for themselves and for the welfare of others. And they also know how to hold themselves and others accountable at all costs by using their personal skills to keep things real and keep everybody on the same team. They also have strong technology skills and exposure on how those technology skills are used globally. Today's military uses cutting-edge technology. Often each individual soldier carries more than $300,000 worth of technology on them on a given day. They know how to maintain our dominance over the enemy on the battlefield using that technology, from communications to security of computer networks and hardware. Service members must stay aware of emerging technologies in the public and private sector and are very accustomed to dealing in that environment. And of course, finally, strong personal integrity. Military training demands that individuals not only abide by a strong code of ethics, but their integrity is validated with a security clearance and background checks. So as you know, trust is the all-important thing. An employee with a proven track record of trustworthiness and personal integrity is a strong asset to line managers in every organization. So what employer wouldn't want to base all their hires on these capabilities and attributes? So what's standing in the way? What are the challenges that you'll face? Addressing these challenges up front, which you see on the right-hand side of this chart, as well as documenting the tangible and intangible capabilities military members and their families bring to bear, will add strength and credibility to your discussions. It will win your leadership. They'll realize that you've thought through all the angles and all the elements of this particular program. It'll bring credibility to everything that you do. So first, let's talk about the top 3 barriers on the right-hand side of the chart. For example, we often hear quotes like, "We have hundreds of jobs, but no one's qualified." This is driven by an intense desire for immediate skilled performance, corporate yield, and return on investment. There's no time to train anybody, but uniquely, there's time to have the job openings go unfilled for extended periods of time, and there's time to hire someone only for it to be a misfire to turn around and try to hire someone again. So sometimes it makes more sense to hire the people that have the right skill sets, the right leadership development patterns, and then train them to the technology that you may need. This leads to a second point: skills translation, skill shortfall, cultural understanding, and stereotypes. These appear to be the number one issue facing veteran hiring programs today, and the veterans themselves. It's directly related to the supply gap. Many studies and testimonials validate that more than 60% of veterans feel unprepared for making this transition. They don't understand the corporate jargon that hiring managers and recruiters often need to hear or need to see in resumes and interviews. They certainly can't always translate their experiences and capabilities into those terms. They have no experience with it. Additionally, over 90% of industry folks have never served in the military, and so they too possess the same translation challenge. Uniquely, both groups seek the same things: stability, performance, financial growth, and return on investment. Getting by these issues starts with getting the two groups in the room, talking to each other. As one Fortune 500 CEO recently stated, "I found the best way to help my leaders forego their aggressive use of mandatory requirements is to give them the experience of hiring an ex-military person. Once they experience the benefits of having a motivated professional on their team that performs and leads their peers, they're hooked. They see the dedication and performance, and the degree, the technical skill, becomes an afterthought, as they know they can train to those skills. And if they do need that degree of certification package, the key safety tip is the GI Bill will pay for it, and the employer gets to be a part of choosing the study topics, the major, the certifications. Now that's what I call customization. And wouldn't it be great if all that was in fact not paid for by the corporate dime, but paid for by government programs? Imagine getting $150,000 to $200,000 of education fund injected directly into your program for every person you hire. That's exactly what each veteran's post-911 GI Bill is actually worth. Each person brings over $150,000 worth of educational credit available to your company to train them to your exacting needs. But unlike the rest of the world, they also have two other critical elements. They do have real-world past performance, not just out of college, but they've actually been in the workforce in high-pressure situations, and they've performed. The government money that's available to retrain to your exacting requirements under your supervision is right at hand as well. So we've now given you the basic tools for a win-win discussion. Corporate performance is at the forefront of this conversation. Financial return on investment is closely linked. So addressing these points enables you to win the discussion with leaders and middle managers up front, and it also wins the company an exponentially larger recruit pool that comes with a prepaid education and tax benefit package. We just have to make it easier to get to that first interview. So now let's talk about how to make that happen. This slide represents the first 3 steps of putting that plan into action. First, I'll talk about government support. Your local workforce board or your community one-stop employment centers have federal state funding to help you find qualified talent and also to build the skills of those that you choose to hire. Specifically, there are 4 categories of government funding that you may want to investigate. First, the Workforce Investment Act funds that can be used to train and certify individuals that you're interested in but have not yet hired. Your workforce board has a list of folks that may be available, and they can provide, in many cases, up to $4,000 or $5,000 per person to be able to start that training. Second, Veterans Affairs on-the-job training dollars funding can be used to defer up to 50% of an individual's salary for up to 6 months of employment as long as they are training in a specific skill. Traditionally, these funds are way underutilized across the country, and they're a great source of leverage for an employer. Third, the GI Bill. As we discussed, many of you may be familiar with the post-911 GI Bill. If not, I'd recommend you consider researching this area. Again, this is a leverage opportunity for you to find a quality employee that meets your needs, matches the kind of culture that you have in your company, and you can train them to exactly what you want them to be able to do. Fourth, tax advantages also exist for hiring veteran and disabled workers. This varies from state to state, but it's not insignificant. Broadly speaking, these are sanctioned by the Work Opportunity Tax Credit Act, or WOTC. This law was just extended in late October 2014 for another year. The dollar values for these credits include up to $2,400, equaling 40% of the first $6,000 in salary earned by a newly hired veteran. An employer may use this WOTC election anytime in the first 3 years after a person is discharged. Next, you can get up to $4,800 for service-connected disabled veterans hired within the first year of discharge. You can get up to $5,600 for veterans unemployed for at least 6 months in the year before being hired, and $9,600 for service-connected disabled veterans unemployed for at least 6 months in the year before being hired. Needless to say, these credits and benefits should be highly valued by the company and defray the cost of initial OJT to meet your exacting standards. Now let's turn to the center column. Step 2, doing your internal inventory. Self-identification is a new mandatory requirement for those that do business with the government. Simply stated, the new VEVRA Act, the EVRRA Act, requires you to ask current pre-offer and post-offer employees if they have served in the military. We discussed this regulatory guidance in the first webinar, but suffice it to say, there are 8 major rule changes, and your company should be very much aware of what those may be. But here's the high point. That very first requirement of self-identification is huge for you, the human resources professional or the hiring manager. It helps you establish your baseline. Another great advantage to this is that those folks identified that are already working for you provide the best source of referrals and advice for your programs. Your very own employees may be the very best recruiters because they know the company, they know their acquaintances, they can make a match or determine fit as good as anyone. Ask them to help find qualified talent, create incentive programs that may recognize this talent, and be sure to reward them. Just make sure that the incentives and disincentives are balanced and reasonable, and for sure, make sure they bring you the best talent. It's just another arrow in your quiver. Most of your current veterans or National Guard members can easily be recruited to help build and improve your new and existing program itself. The very steps that we're explaining today could be implemented by a working group put together from this group of folks that work for you in the company today. You can use them as an advisory function, to review your job descriptions, to help you build the job capabilities matrix that you'll see in a few moments. They are your interpreters, your local guides, so to speak, on how to bring these two cultures together. They can also be invited to accompany your recruiters to job fairs, to research job boards, to find you qualified applicants out of those job boards, or to serve as mentors and transition guides along the way. This is only limited by your imagination. Now step 3, the capabilities matrix. We're going to show you 3 examples of these in just a moment, but I want to explain it a little bit first. Taking time to understand both your company career paths and those of the military is important. Some, such as certified network engineers, are clear-cut. Others, such as program managers, are not. Identifying and prioritizing your high-demand, high-performance requirement positions is critical to this process. You'll do better recruiting to a smaller number of career fields initially because it enables you to focus your efforts and learn more about the kind of people, the kind of career specialties that the military has, and the kind of culture that's engendered within those career specialties that the military produces in those fields before you expand beyond your first phase of your operation. So to that end, let's discuss the virtues of applying automated military skill translators to find alignment between your high-priority career field vacancies and military skill specialties. These tools take existing military occupational skills, or MOS, and translate them to civilian career types. I'll provide you some links to those tools at the end of this brief. While this certainly is helpful, you must be careful to use them only as guides. Please do not make the same mistakes others have made by using these tools solely to disqualify candidates. This is because many military members have been used in multiple career fields, outside their official career field that's on their record brief. It's smart to ask them to provide additional papers, such as awards, job descriptions, performance reports, or anything else they may choose to share that shows their experiences, skills, and attributes meet your job need. Doing this and also taking the time to learn about military career fields is really important and conveys corporate commitment. It could make a difference and could match into some pretty important long-term high-producing employees. So what does a practical output of this methodology look like? This chart gives you an example. It starts with documenting shortage career positions and career categories to make a good assessment of both the kind of work that you're recruiting and the skill types that you seek. Then you can crosswalk the military career fields that best fit those job fields, as well as those that met the needed skills, characteristics, and performance attributes that you desire for those jobs. Building categories of needs from both hiring managers and your internal veteran employees themselves is a great help. Practically speaking, you can choose any one of several techniques for accomplishing this. You can conduct your own individual research. You can engage your veteran employees. You can create a special veteran advisory work group. Or you can interact with local veteran service organizations in your area and ask them to give you advice along the way. Regardless of the approach you choose, this creates an opportunity to engage, to learn, and to begin the change management and the culturalization process. It draws out the problems that the company is experiencing with current positions, employee types, veteran or otherwise, and gets things out in the open. It creates dialogue between your employees, between your leaders. We bring this up because Monster.com and other major folks in this field found that many employers had unexpected positive lessons when they actually got their programs underway. They found veterans to hold many unexpected soft and hard skills not previously documented, such as the ability to concentrate for long periods, creativity, accuracy, calmness under pressure, demeanor, and clearness in communications. None of these showed up on any of the MOS translators, nor any of the other tools that they looked up. But when they started interviewing and finding employees and assessed their performance, they popped up immediately. Additionally, either before consideration or once hired, military members often achieve certifications without encouragement, even in fields such as Cisco networking engineer, computer security, contractor management, electronic troubleshooting, program management, Microsoft SQL Server, quality control, and risk management, all highly technical fields. If they have not attained the certifications by the time that you hire them, they can certainly apply their GI Bill to achieve those that the hiring manager needs. Most importantly, if not directed, they'll probably do it on their own. Uniquely, firms that had little or no veteran hires never expected to see these kinds of behaviors and qualifications emerge. It was a bit of a surprise. This tool helps document that learning process, but maybe in advance, it gives you some new methods for quantifying inherent skills and it practices inclusiveness in the workplace, all things that you need. So Once you prioritize corporate career fields and job targets, as well as those demanding the highest performance, then you can map military hard and soft skills to those needs and matches between individuals, and your job openings will start to emerge. For example, few people would think special operations officers would be well suited to being stockbrokers, but often that has just been the case. They like the fast-paced, high-risk operations, and they bring a sense of calmness to the workplace and can handle stress like none other. You start to realize that Army strategic planners are quite capable at linking diverse concepts and building them into corporate messaging and business plans in much the same way as they might have done when they planned a military operation, even though they've never been a business developer or strategic planner in a company ever before. In the end, it's about linking ideas, and they're very good at that. So this chart's just one example that a group of business execs and their veteran employees came up with, and it makes it much easier for hiring managers to see immediately the cost-benefit equation in considering a military hire. Another example of this crosswalking procedure is the employee production matrix. Hiring managers, supported by either your military affinity group or by the new hire themselves, can use this technique to use what the military calls mission orders. Effectively, you provide the mission and the outcome desired, and let the team or the individual figure out how to get it done. This matrix example represents a method to be used either before or after the offer for getting the skills and desired outcomes down on paper. Uniquely, it can also be used for goal setting and performance evaluations once someone's been hired. It can also be used to give a prospective employee a scenario during the interview process, give them a chance to fill out the form and credit their experiences, and then ask them what military training has made them capable of achieving that outcome. Effectively, another way of them articulating their skills. Focusing on action-oriented specialties, career fields, departments, or skill sets is also a critical part of this endeavor. Military members like being close to the action. They enjoy problem solving, small group performance, and team objectives that are visible and achievable. The win created in this matrix development process is truly interesting. It helps managers discuss their challenges and also helps them to understand how the military has had to deal with these challenges in high-stress situations and win. It opens minds and helps people see value. The biggest challenges we see are that companies and veterans don't take the time to really learn about each other. And once given the opportunity, they bond very quickly. Something amazing happens. That bond comes from a sense of trust that one cared enough about the other's culture to learn. The smallest gesture often causes people to start to connect. Take the time to do this with your teams, with or without a veterans program. It'll save you tens of thousands of dollars in training, workplace disruptions, disciplinary actions, and unemployment benefits. Earlier we mentioned the increased use of job requirements to disqualify candidates. We sometimes see this referred to as requirements creep. It's said that during the Great Recession, an explosion in additional discretionary job requirements, especially mandatory requirements, were necessary to parse through the massive candidate application lists. This does not work in favor of the military veteran that has been unable to build degrees or stack up certifications or stack up numbers of jobs due to deployments and duty requirements. While we're not advocating the wholesale relaxation of key job description and requirements, we do feel the application of alternatives we discussed can help get your HR team create alternatives, add to their flexibility, and increase your dividends. It's a given that you'll never find a recruit with every one of those requirements. So your choice becomes, do you recruit those with the best long-term corporate potential and valued past performance, or do you try to find the immediate Band-Aid that doesn't have the character and values you're looking for, or at least you're not sure they do, but they do have that immediate technical requirement that the hiring manager needs? The answer to these questions had to be validated by your leadership. Certainly, it's a policy decision. However, it's up to you to make the case that you want to hire the best future leaders for your company. Basing your discussion on the fact that these skills, character points, and personal attributes lead to improved production quality and profitability is key to that discussion. The tools we have provided your employer provides alternatives that can be used in lieu of traditional requirement sets, not necessarily as a replacement, but just as some additional opportunities to give people the opportunity to explain why they bring value to that organization. Now, step 5, the last step, focuses on improving feedback and responsiveness to the veterans, Guard members, and reservists that do apply. In short, we believe that high-tech screening tools are great, but they should also be used in conjunction with high-touch solutions. Reaching out with high-touch approaches enables first impressions, the documentation of unsaid opportunities, and also provides an opening for the opportunities to submit supporting documents that really help define who the person really is. Military folks bring entrance skill assessments, efficiency reports, awards, counseling forms, and many other documents that back up a person's skill set. It also shows the veteran that you're different, that maybe you're a special kind of employer that they would really enjoy working for because you're interested in their past and what they've accomplished. All because you just took the time to give them the opportunity to share their past performance in a way comfortable to them. High-tech tools not commonly used include quality online assessments that might cost a few dollars, but the return can be a game changer. Being able to assess the following items in just 1 or 2 tools can be very helpful to the veterans telling their story and to hiring managers making the decision. They can comment on findings. We can find that they are usually always excited to see what it shows both parties. It also provides the hiring manager with a baseline on which to build their individual development program and work counseling once hired. So any assessment tool that brings together multiple different elements such as workplace preference, math, science, reading comprehension, personality, and past experiences is extremely helpful. Today there are tools that do all of those in one assessment program. So bringing it all together. These 5 steps offer you the opportunity to get your preparations and pre-built process starting your military recruiting program. A key component here is the strategic imperative of acknowledging this is, in fact, a change in corporate culture at your company. Specifically, that you want to look at the whole person and their total life experience by limiting it to a specific technical capability or potentially an outdated job description. It also helps people understand that you want to start small, invest in a few people, in a few career fields. Hiring veterans and their total capability package of benefits, not just the technical skill or the exact match to the job description. Simply making this knowledge available to your company can make it valuable. This is where you can shine, and we encourage you to enjoy the ride. Remember that your own employees may be the very best recruiters because they know the company and they know their acquaintances. They can help you put together any of these crosswalk tools that we mentioned, and they're very qualified at understanding both your company, your culture, as well as the military culture. Use them every way you can. 4th, creating dialogue through disciplined processes like the matrix crosswalks, built by joint teams, reviewed by a working group of veterans and your hiring managers, internal to company is very helpful and gets folks involved. It's a key attribute in change management. It also provides you an opportunity to explain to your corporate employees why you're approaching the program and the value that you see in it, and helps them to see it for themselves. Let them have a chance to report to corporate site executives on the results of their work as a working group. It will establish visibility and accountability. It will attract volunteers, and it may also provide top cover when and if things get tough. Change is always hard. Having top cover always helps. Addressing these things in the open, having veteran hiring groups, outreach efforts, support to local charities, or freedom to help the community in natural disasters are all important options that are both good for the company image, the community, and the veteran. and using these alternatives will make you one of the best companies out there for hiring veterans. Concluding, never forget, we are what we measure, so please set objectives that are supported and reviewed religiously by your leadership, and giving your folks the opportunity to be seen by those leaders through a routine process of updates to them where you can identify specific goals that may include, for example, 7% of your hires being veterans is kind of a minimum for federal guidelines, and many companies are exceeding 25% today. But that's purely up to your company and your leadership on how you want to start the program. These are some good references to provide you what you may need to take it to the next level. Of course, your Department of Labor, Economic Development, State Veteran Services Department, Employment Commission, or other state and federal agencies have viable study guides that may be of assistance. And certainly, the Hiring Our Heroes Foundation has some of the best training in the nation available to you today online. Thank you for your time and energy. Your workforce will be better for it, and America will be stronger for your efforts as well. You can count on the fact that your company will be more prosperous and a greater place to work through the efforts that you put into this program. Thank you very much.